Remember, go straight to grandmother's house, her mother cautioned. Don't dawdle along the way, and please don't talk to strangers. The woods are very dangerous. Don't worry, Mommy, said Little Red Riding Hood. I'll be careful. But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit about for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and then picked a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer days so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, the wolf appeared beside her. What are you doing out here, little girl? And where are you going? The wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could muster. Oh, I'm on my way to see my grandma who lives through the forest near the brook, Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realized how late she was, and she quickly excused herself. Oh, sorry, and rushed down the path to her grandmother's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, little out of breath from running, arrived at grandmother's and knocked lightly at the door. Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried that something had happened to you in the forest, said Grandma, thinking that the knock was her granddaughter. Guys, this is why you have to be careful. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny did not have the time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfied burp and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly set sleeping cap and, for good measure, dabbed some of Grandma's perfume to his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose. Who is it? He called in a crackly voice. It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, how lovely. Do come in, my dear, croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could scarcely recognize her grandmother. Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter? She asked. Oh, I have a touch of a cold, squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove the point. But grandmother, what big ears you have, said Red Riding Hood as she edged closer to the bed. It's better to hear you with, my dear, replied the wolf. But grandmother, what big eyes you have, said Little Red Riding Hood. To better see you with, my dear, replied the wolf. But grandmother, what big teeth you have, said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering slightly. The better to eat you with, my dear. Rawr! Roared the wolf as he leapt out of bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and through the door shouting, Help! Help! As loudly as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry, oh! And ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf out and cut the poor grandmother out. Oh, Grandma! I was so scared, sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. I'll never speak to strangers or dawdle in the forest again. There, child. You have learned an important lesson. Thank goodness you shouted loud enough for this kind woodsman to hear you. The woodsman knocked out the wolf and carried him into the deep into the forest where he couldn't bother people any longer. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. I hope I didn't wake you guys from your sleep, but that was Little Red Riding Hood. 여러분, 영어는 계속 들어야 늡니다. 오늘도 선생님과 같이 했던 동요를 미국 친구들에게도 그리고 한국 친구들에게도 무엇보다 자고 싶긴 한데 또 엄마가 읽으라는 책은 말고 뭔가 유튜브 같은 건 보고 싶은데 영어 책도 재밌는 거 보고 싶고 그럴 때는 그레이스 쌤과 같이 해요. 오늘의 영어 표현. Be careful of strangers.